Welcome to the Daily Devo. My name is Diana. Today we are talking about an eye for an eye, or a better way. What if the ways of Jesus invite you to respond differently rather than simply react like the rest of the world? What if, as Andy Stanley said, you could underreact rather than simply overreacting? Listen to today's verse. It's from the Sermon on the Mount. And remember, Jesus was teaching this crowd of people in Galilee. And today we're going to read Matthew chapter 5, verses 38 through 42. It says this: "You have heard that it was said, 'Eye for eye and tooth for tooth.' But I tell you," Jesus says, "do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you." There's a new perspective Jesus is calling his followers up into. It's this perspective of love, generosity, and service that is fueled by the grace of God through Jesus. Rather than just having revenge run wild in our communities, in our homes, and with strangers, Jesus is calling his followers up to this creative way forward that reflects the patient, generous love of God. Imagine that. Imagine if his followers treated others in a way that echoed God's love. That's what these 3 examples show in today's text. One of these scholars, N.T. Wright, he asked this question. He said, what would it mean to reflect God's generous love despite the pressure and the provocation, despite your own anger and frustration? Doesn't that sound like a fantastic alternative in hard situations? To reflect God rather than react like you always do. I want you to listen to what he goes on to say. I'm going to read it to you. He says this. He says, "Impossible." Well, yes, at one level. But again, Jesus' teaching isn't just good advice. It's good news. Jesus did it all himself, and he opened up the way of being human so that all who follow him can discover it. When they mocked Jesus, he did not respond. When they challenged Jesus, he told quizzical, sometimes humorous stories that forced them to think differently. When they struck Jesus, he took the pain. When they put the worst bit of Roman equipment on his back, the heavy cross, which he would later be killed on, he carried it out of the city and placed it in the place of his own execution. When they nailed him to the cross, he prayed for them. You see, the Sermon on the Mount isn't just about us. If it was, we might admire it and find a bit of idealism, but we'd return to our normal lives. You see, the Sermon on the Mount is about Jesus himself, that he is the blueprint for our life, and that Jesus, hear this, asks nothing of his followers that he has not already faced himself. And within Jesus' own life, we can already sense this theme that will grow larger and larger and larger, that God is showing us the way through Jesus. You see, Jesus, he modeled the new way. And as you read through the gospel this week, notice what Jesus does in those moments when he's hit, accused, or he experiences others' misuse of power against him. Let's let the example of Jesus pave a way forward for us. And again, let me ask you, what might turning the other cheek look like in your life today? How might grace, justice, and the goodness of God help you discover the way forward? Think on these things. We'll see you next time.